Mike Perlak here to entertain you with the help of USA for Africa. We are the world. We are the children. We are the one to make a better day. That was the musical selection for the workday today. Yes, sir. USA for Africa. Quincy Jones and Michael Jackson. The U.S. version of 1984's British Band-Aid, Do They Know It's Christmas Time, which for a period of my youth was the only Christmas song I would admit to actually liking. Yes, sir. USA for Africa. That was thinking about the second time they tried to do that. I think it was sometime in the early 2000s or something like that. And why it didn't, I would have to sit down one-on-one with Quincy Jones and talk to him to know for sure. But I suspect part of the problem that the general public just couldn't get on board with the whole thing is I think it was more about, I think the problem was more about not so much changing the world for the betterment, but more about celebrity virtue signaling. Look at me! I'm doing this wonderful thing! Love me! Worship me! I think that was part of the problem. And even Quincy Jones, I believe in the other Aftermath, just admitted that it was just a bad idea. USA for Africa. Interesting soundtrack song on there from C. Perry called Moment Girl, or something about In the Moment Girl. Pointer Sisters got one on there. Bruce Springsteen and E Street Band. Trap. Makes sense they would want to get a track on there from that band at the time, 85. Let's see, Chicago, Tina Turner, Kenny Rogers, Huey Lewis and the News, or as I affectionately called him growing up, Huey and his boys. But to my surprise, there was nothing on there from Cyndi Lauper or Stevie Wonder or Ray Charles, but I just have the tape, so perhaps there's an extended version of the album that I don't know about. Speaking of Huey Lewis and the News, when I finally do my the first one of my my 7,777 CD collection, that'd probably be the first band that I'll feature. Ironically, I acquired one of those CDs recently. But anyways, yeah, a pretty good, interesting soundtrack. Got For the Tears in Your Eyes, Prince and the Revolution. 4, the number 4 in the title, as opposed to the word for. You know, a lot of young people are impressed with that. They'll say stuff like, "Ooh, he was ahead of his time." You know, titling the song with the number 4 as opposed to the word for. And I would say I would probably be more impressed with that if I wasn't already doing it in grade school. to the annoyance of my teachers, I would put the pound sign instead of writing out number 1, number 2, number 3. I was doing that in grade school because I saw them doing it. And they'd be like, "No, you don't do that on your homework." I'd be writing the pound sign instead of writing out the word number. But I got it from them, so. But the song they got in there from the E Street Band, Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band, Trapped. Pretty good song. I'm white, but that song, I can understand how such a song would resonate with the victim of the Democratic Party systematically installing ghettos in our society. But anyways, not to get too political, but But one more note on the soundtrack, though. It was a good song, raised a lot of money, helped a lot of people. But there's one line that I never felt 100% at ease with. There's a choice we're making in saving our own lives, or we're saving our own lives, or something like that. And to me, that sounds kind of elitish. It sounds elitish to me. And I'm not putting myself up on a pedestal here, George. We're all sinners. Even George Carlin's got a bit about saying the hell with his family and going and get the good bread out of the loaf and skipping what we called, when I was growing up, anyways, in my family, the butt bread. But there's a choice we're making in saving our own lives. Or we're saving our own lives. That sounds kind of elitist to me. I mean, if my interpretation, or maybe I'm not seeing it right or whatever, comment below if you got a different opinion of it. But but that song "Trapped," part of. I guess I'll have to go a little more in depth to my upbringing. As I stated before a couple of times now on this platform, I grew up upper middle class when I was in grade school, and then lower middle class when I went to high school, because of the authorities had to take custody of myself and my sisters away when we were kids. So that's how I ended up bouncing around foster care, and then family, and then finally my mom, and then that's how I ended up in a lower middle class high school versus a higher middle class grade school. But growing up with my father would say, "Yeah, that's why your mother lives around." I'm going to come niggos. That's my substitute word for the word, but I think you'll be able to figure out what I'm talking about, because my mom, was a poorer town, whatever. So I would have to listen to, as a child, my father saying about how the area she's from is gangs, and he'd use derogatory terms in regards to black people. But when I did go to live with my mom, honestly, I was just looking for something different. I didn't care. It was no big deal to me. When I finally was going to a dominantly, I wouldn't say dominantly, I said 70% African American, maybe 20% Hispanic, and 10% white. But when I was going to such a school versus a dominantly white grade school, I didn't think much of it. It was just a school, But I do remember, and this I actually have on audio tape. I'll probably have to share now at some point on this platform. On audio tape, we got audio of me telling my sisters, I should get a job at the KFC down the road. Then I'll get where they get robbed a lot. Then I'll get my chance to kill a bastard, as I said, in my juvenile thinking on the audio tape. I recorded all my life on audio tape before video. When that's all I had. But anyways, it's a juvenile way of thinking. But I think I ran something over. Anyways, it was a juvenile way of thinking, but ironically, I did eventually go get a job at that place. Yeah, it was, they had glass. It was the only KFC that had glass at the counter to protect the workers. And there was one incident of a robbery, but I was not there that day. It was actually on my day off. But my mother told me years later, when years ago, we went just reminiscing and driving around the old town, and I thought it was boarded up. And my mom told me that she had found out in the paper or something big went down at that location. I think I remember what she said. In fact, I do remember what she said, but it's the worst of human nature, so I'm not going to really talk about it on here. But anyways, hey, what else can I tell you about? Oh yeah, I was watching an Incredible Hulk cartoon from the '96 series, and it was an episode with Miss Allura, a cartoon villainess in the Incredible Hulk 2006 series, where this villainess, Miss Allura, had this power in her to use her eyes to get the men to do whatever she asked. But she's getting migraines, and she asked Dr. Banner to fix them for her. So he's under her spell at first, but then his cousin Jennifer Walters, aka She-Hulk, reminds him of his true love, Betty Ross, which breaks the spell. But in the story, Banner cures her headaches, but also takes her power away. To her disappointment. She was getting a lot. She was having her cake and eating it too, having this power to get men to do what she wants with her alluring eyes. But it was okay, because her right-hand man, Crusher, still loved her after all that, as the She-Hulk tells Bruce in the aftermath of the story. Like, oh, come on, Jennifer. Those people were criminals. They got what they deserved. And the She-Hulk, yeah, and he still loved her after all that. Jennifer Walters, a.k.a. the She-Hulk. And she's also a practicing attorney. Why? Well, because it's the Marvel Universe. You don't expect anything less. But, the high school I went to, I guess there was mild gang activity, but primarily it was just loudmouth wannabes, and the hall monitors knew who was who. Yeah, but the She-Hulk, the problem with some of the comics of the She-Hulk is, in my opinion, too much arm muscle, too big. When they make the She-Hulk character with their arms are too big, that's gross to me. That's gross. I had an ex who actually felt compelled to compete with me with strength training, and I just I didn't have a backbone back then, so I never spoke up or said anything, but I found that gross. It's like, you want to compete with strength training, and find a female to compete with. Anyways, I always preferred the version of the She-Hulk that was strong, but still maintained femininity and confidence. Confidence that stemmed from real woman confidence, not the kind of fake confidence that comes from feminist. Feminism to me is just a crutch for low value females. Matter of fact, as far as real life females, I can remember one in adolescence, Karen Voigt, Voigh, I think a T. That was the only flesh and blood female that I thought came pretty close to perfect feminine muscularity. My mom had a couple of exercise tapes of hers. I have no reason to lie. My adolescent mind probably remembers her body more than how to pronounce her last name. All right. That'll do it for this one. Mike Barrelak. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your time.